evening, everybody, and welcome to a brand new edition of the Hard Cam. I'm Jason, right alongside. I was glad he was able to be here tonight because he's fresh off the boat, and they finally cleared him to be back in society from his bout with the Hanavirus.
Oh my goodness, it's been bad.
Pretty Paul Rogers in the house. How you? I would ask how you feeling, but I've heard you coughing. But how you doing, man? Other than that,
I'm through the thick of it. But it's like the ear is still completely full. Like it's bad. It's still bad.
Well, you know, I don't know what you're drinking there, but every time my grandfather got sick back in the day, he said he had to go see Dr. Vaughn. And what that was going to the liquor store and getting some bottom shelf bourbon, coming home and putting a little honey in it, warming it up a little bit of hot toddy going on back. He said that was the only cure he could ever get for a cold. So, I would ask you if you've been doing any training, but I already know the answer. So we got any updates on the matches you got coming up anytime soon, or what we got going on,
man? No confirmation yet, but it should be July, August, something like that. I'm currently in touch with the promoter, so it's I have to kind of wait and see what happens.
Well, you know, you got to keep us updated. You got to start putting some clips on there, man. The fan base wants to see what you got to offer, man.
Honestly, it's one of those lessons in wrestling where it's like I have a tripod, but I never record my matches myself, and then I wait for the promotion, and then the promotion's a small one, so they're doing their own thing. So it's one of my it's like, what's the expression? It's my own. It's definitely my own fault, but it's a lesson learned as we're kind of going forward.
Well, get you the buddy system, man. You know, you offer to, record somebody's match for them and get switch off. You know, they record you, you record them, man. But let's go over some stuff tonight, man, because it's always fun to be in the world of professional wrestling. And when they get me, I say they got me, and it don't happen often, but they got me because Brock Lesnar was back on Monday Night Raw. Did you see that?
Yeah, I still don't quite understand it, but yeah, I definitely saw it.
Well, I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but like I said, he got me, man. The emotion with him and Heyman, and the way he kind of looked up and took his boots and his gloves off and walked out, and then all the speculation, him and TKO were having issues because he didn't want to wrestle Gunther at SummerSlam. And, Oba comes out for his open challenge and he's doing his pose. And when the lights go out in the ring, and then next thing you see, he goes flying, the lights come up, and there's Brock Lesnar just laying him out, leaves him laying with 4 F5s. And Adam Pearce is doing what Adam Pearce does and gets in the back and tells everybody to go find Heyman. He walks in his office like, "You looking for me?" He goes, "I filed paperwork on that man." He's like, "Yeah, okay." He is retired. However, here's a contract with Brock's signature on it for a rematch with Oba at Clash in Italy. And if you go get Oba to sign it, you'll secure the biggest rematch that we've had in a long time. He is retired, but he'll do one more match. So I don't know where they're going with it. I don't know if we get any more out of Brock after. I would say we will if he wins at Clash in Italy, if he beats Oba. But if Oba, kind of wipes the mat with him again like he did at Mania, I don't know why they would even bring him back for another match, but I don't know. I mean, I was seeing a lot of comments and stuff today about, you chimed in a couple of times, and I said my one little thing I had to say, and people just, they want to go so over and beyond, and I don't understand. They brought the machine guns in, and then they gave them the titles, but then they just didn't do nothing with them. It just doesn't make sense. Shut up. Yes, WWE has always been, since it went viral, global, whatever you want to call it, with WrestleMania, with the entertainment and stuff. But at the core of it, it was still a wrestling company. That was what Vince McMahon, grew his business on. He just kind of, he wanted the entertainment world in. He wanted them, in the pop culture of stuff. And, he got that with Mr. T and Cyndi Lauper and, Mike Tyson later down the road. But it's not like what we're seeing now. And I mean, from what we're seeing, in my opinion, and, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And it's kind of what we were talking about last week with the union and then possibly unionizing to keep from some of this stuff happening. But, they're after money now. That's all they're after. The tickets are going to continue to rise. And, it's a corporation now versus a wrestling company that had some entertainment to it. You know, Vince, you can love, hate, or in between with Vince, and I understand them all. It's like Hulk Hogan, the same thing. But without those two guys, we're not where we're at in the world of professional wrestling. And TKO does not care about that. And so I think it's just going to continually go downhill. And I think AEW has a huge opportunity in front of it if they capitalize. But they're not a wrestling company anymore. Now, I would be interested to see how much longer Triple H might, in fact, actually be there.
Yeah, that actually surprises me that Triple H's job might be in jeopardy from the TKO point of view. But I don't know. I feel like this is just okay. How do I phrase this so it's like what you've said? I feel like has always been the case for WWE since like the 90s. But now they've just pushed it to a level where they're souring the people who have always viewed them as the default. Like as someone who doesn't watch Marvel movies, you know what I mean? Like they always defend Marvel. Getting past that wall is really hard. So the fact WWE is doing that to themselves is kind of amazing because it's not, hey, something else is better. Let's watch that. It's this sucks, so I'm leaving, which is harsh. It's like if you watch something you like better, you like it better. That's okay. Everybody likes different movie genres. So if you want to watch a foreign film or if you want to watch a romance, whatever. But if you're specifically not watching my product because your argument is I specifically don't like your product, that's rough. That's super rough.
No, I mean, but I'll be honest with you, dude. I just, I had Raw on in the background Monday. I missed most of SmackDown last week just for the simple fact I kind of forgot it was on. That's where my, and that's weird for me because I've been watching it so long and I've been programmed to watch it and just had so much going on. But it really, I mean, I don't think Triple H would be fired per se. I think he's smart enough, no pun intended, but to play the game. But I think where his job may be in jeopardy, it might not be from TKO. I mean, the man's got more money than he knows what to do with. When WWE was sold, him and Stephanie both had a shit ton of stock in it. So they're not hurting for money. And I guarantee you, I don't know what the contract situation would be, but if he was to leave WWE, whether it be, far-fetched AEW or his own thing or another company or just, disappear in the sunset, he can go do whatever. And, what a coup would it be for, especially Tony Khan, but anybody else to bring in Paul Levesque if he got pissed off over the way, because, reports had it he was not happy about them inserting Pat McAfee into his main event at WrestleMania. And that's why Cody wound up going over. And we hadn't seen Randy since. I guess they're trying to reset it. I don't know what they're doing, but, it might not be a TKO going, you're fired. It might be him going, if that's the way you want to do it your damn self.
Yeah, I don't know. It just kind of depends on the way that they're viewing it. Like, are they viewing it? Because okay, here's a good metaphor. Hopefully, Jason, you'll agree with me. Remember watching the old pay-per-views, and it's in between matches, and JR would go, "This match is presented by Skittles, good old Skittles, blah blah blah." Now to the match, like it would just be a 30-second little snippet. Brought to you by Snickers. Moving on to the cage match. That we don't mind as fans. Hearing those little things, sure, no problem. But WrestleMania being a third, 2/3 literal ads on a show I've paid for, it's like you've just pushed everything to the limit, and you're seeing how far you can stay to the limit by staying in the profit margins. You know what I mean? We're maximizing profits, people.
Well, I've said for, even when I was not real thrilled with AEW's product, that their pay-per-view still delivered. And I'll get to that in a second. I don't want to lose just train of thought, but let's look at the history of Triple H real quick. And yeah, I'm going to defend him here for a minute.
Uh-oh.
Who had NXT more popular than the main roster? Triple H. And when he went out with his heart issue, Vince and Bruce Pritchard come in and made it a joke. They turned it from, his black and gold baby to all those high top performers Triple H had brought in. Basically, he said they had the money that he was going to out Ring of Honor, and that's kind of what he did. And they come in and did the
sort of yes and no, because he had a lot of tools, but he also had the bank of the WWE.
Absolutely.
If he were to try to be Ring of Honor with Ring of Honor's budget, do I think that it would have went the same way? I don't.
Well, that's the budget's not what I'm getting to though. My thing is, take the budget out of it. They brought people in from Adam Cole to Kevin Steen, Sami Zayn, the whole Undisputed Era. Shinsuke they brought it back. McIntyre. I mean, the list goes on and on of people they brought in that he brought back through the door in NXT, and it was very, very wide talked about that how bad that it got under Vince's skin at the main roster pay-per-views. The crowd, like they used to do for ECW, was now chanting NXT, and how the dirt sheets were talking about how much better the NXT pay-per-view was than the main roster pay-per-view. So when Triple H went out, he went out and turned it into, that's when you got, when NXT 2.0 came along, that's when you started getting these 80s gimmicks again, like, bringing in Andre Chase in the University, bringing in, pick one. It was just weird gimmicks, bringing Tony D in as the Mafia guy, which I really like Tony D, and I'm glad they kind of steered him away from it. But he come in and basically ruined what Triple H had built. And just kind of like to me, it was same kind of situation when he brought back ECW. He wanted to get rid of that damn champ. And but then you fast forward, Triple H comes back, all the stuff with Vince goes down. They put Triple H in charge of creative, and everything was going great for a while. People couldn't get enough of what Triple H was doing. The man did not forget overnight how to book a wrestling show. He's an old school wrestling guy, but he knows enough about the entertainment side to kind of blend them in, where it brings in some mainstream audience, and it keeps the old school fans that are been there for a long time. It keeps them pretty much at a happy medium. Paul Levesque has not forgotten how to book a wrestling show, but now since they've been owned by TKO for a couple of years now, there's starting to be more hands in the pot. No, you need to do it this way. You need to do it that way. We're going to put 85 ads on the ring mat. That's what I think is happening, and I think you see it more and more when he's actually on camera. And hell, the last couple of pay-per-views, he hadn't even come out there and got on camera like he used to. So I think there's frustration on his part. And I do believe that it'll either come to a head with a blow up and then like, you know what, you don't like what we're doing? Bye. Or him like, you know what, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. This is my reputation. This is my legacy you're putting on the line. And like I say, he doesn't need, and I'm sure they're paying him a fortune. I mean, Stephanie's on their payroll doing her podcast, but, both of them between the two, even though they've been married for a long time, the money they brought in between the two of them, they don't need it. I'm sure they've invested well. And, hell, I don't know what the relationship is there, but that you keep hearing ramblings that Vince wants to do something. So, hell, it could be something as, he leaves and helps Vince start a new company. Who knows? But like I said, yes, people can sit there and bitch and moan about Triple H all they want to. That's your right. But just remember, all the good that man's done, he did not forget how to book a show overnight. And like I said, for a guy that was trained by Killer Kowalski, a big fan of Harley Race, everybody knows what a fan of Ric Flair he was. He is an old school mind with enough of a new mind to kind of blend the entertainment side of it in with a Bad Bunny here and there, a Logan Paul, that kind of stuff. But like I said, I think you're starting to see more hands go in the cookie jar, and you're seeing the result.
Could also be a case of, here's going to be a millennial reference. Could it be a case of like a Kevin Smith syndrome, where when given smaller opportunities like NXT was a television company with a budget given to them, so they didn't have to like necessarily make that money back to keep moving. You know what I mean? So compare that with the Fed, which is at least trying to be a touring company in a sense. But Kevin Smith, when he makes small movies, his movies are good. They're from the heart. They're low budget. They're campy. They're great. But whenever he tries to make a big budget movie, his way of making a movie doesn't necessarily translate to a $50 million. You give this man $500,000, he's making you a fun little movie. You give him $50 million, he's making dog shit. You know what I mean? Like, so is this a case of creatively Triple H's style may work better for a smaller market? Because the territories were a smaller market in theory. You know what I mean? They would be similar crowds to, well, I guess what NXT was when they started becoming a touring company, but you know what I mean? Maybe
if he had not had
better for smaller towns.
No, I hear you, but if he had not had the success over the past few years that he had since taking over in charge of creative for Vince, I would be more inclined to go with that side of it and agree with you. But like I said, the last couple of WrestleManias, you started to see where there was more and more. Yes, he's head of creative, but that doesn't mean that that Nick Khan or Ari Emanuel can't come in. And apparently that's what they did. They come in and said, we want Pat McAfee in this story. And like I said, I like Pat McAfee, and I thought he did a great job on commentary for Raw. I liked him in NXT when he was a heel. He makes a great heel. I think they put him in a bad spot to even him, take the story out of it. For a guy that I think really got a lot of eyes on your product with his show and his brand. I think, whether it was, report, you never know what's true and what's not, but there was reports out there that when they first approached him with it, he said no, but they went back 3 or 4 times and he was like, all right, I'll do this. But, his release that Monday after Mania was legit because he wanted to, he said, I got too much going on. Either his wife was getting ready to have a baby or just had one. Something of that nature. He said, I got too much going on between my own stuff and, college football season's getting ready to come back around here in the next few months. I'll do it. But, once I'm done, I'm done. And I'm sure you'll see Pat McAfee come back here and there, over the years. But, his release that Monday following Monday Night Raw, WrestleMania was a legit release because that's what he wanted. So, like I said, I don't think that, I don't think Paul Levesque forgot how to book overnight because he's been doing, he such praise on the internet and the product wasn't what it was to me in the 90s, but, nostalgic purposes, whatever. But he, like I said, it had become a lot more interesting since Vince had left and he took over. And now, like I said, I think you're just seeing people that don't know what the hell they're doing. And if they want to go back and look at what killed WCW, what'd they do? Like I said, you can hate Vince Russo all you want. You can hate Eric Bischoff all you want. Bischoff's NWO took him on a ride. And then here comes, after Turner, the AOL merger happens, they come in and, basically rip the board out from underneath Bischoff and tell him he can't do X, Y, Z. Bischoff leaves. They bring in Russo, who's writing Crash TV on Monday Night Raw. And then they give him these standards and practices. Like, did you not watch what the guy was writing? Why if that's what you're going to do, why bring him in? You're wasting your money. Just give Kevin Sullivan the pen back there and say, do your thing. These are your handcuffs.
I think they might have run into a philosophical problem because you have what's the it insists upon itself. Do you know that meme, that Family Guy meme?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'm not applying it right, but what I'm going to try to explain is, so the WWE has created this mythos that they are the one above all in wrestling style and knowledge and everything. They are, you know what I mean? They are always by default the end product. So they must be the best. So it's like they've kind of drifted off from pro wrestling and created their own kind of mythos. But because of this, they can't ever go, hey, that's working. Let's do a little bit of that. Because that would admit that their own mythos is not necessarily, you know what I mean? Like Vince was at least, I'll give him this, was at least a savvy businessman, and he noticed when the thing was going down, he'd go, we need to do something. Bret Hart, Lex, you know what I mean? Like he was good at changing up. Oh, you guys want realistic? Let's do realistic. Oh, you guys want Crash TV? Like Vince was very good. I'll say it that. But you know what I mean? If the Fed has become so far up its own mythos I don't think it has the wherewithal or whatever to go, hey, people seem to like when wrestling has a more sports feel, when it's not always pomp and circumstance, when you lessen the stakes sometimes. Oh, maybe we should, you know what I mean? Let's try a couple different things and see if it works. They're like, no, because ours, you know what I mean? It's sort of insisting upon it. So I don't know if I'm saying that right, but hopefully you know what I mean.
I do. And the thing is, though, that I'll rebut with that is that where I agree with you on Vince, Vince didn't have anybody over top of him going, no, we're not doing that. We're going to do this. And that's where Triple H is running into it. Because, I mean, like I said, not only was he trained by Killer Kowalski and then, some guidance from Harley Race when Race was managing Vader in WCW. And, of course, everybody knows how tight him and Flair got there for a while. Him and HBK still best friends, even though they had their little couple of years of, apart, when Michaels was out. He's an old school wrestling guy that, like I said, he knows how to throw the entertainment in there, and he learned under Vince's creative tree. But Vince had that, he just didn't have to answer to anybody. If he wanted to do something, right, wrong, or indifferent, it got done. And I think that's what we're running into with Triple H. And like I said, I guess we'll just have to see where it goes. So let's run over this. We're getting Brock Oba 2 at Clash in Italy, and I don't know where they're going with that. I really don't. Do you think Oba needs to beat Brock, or should Brock get his win back?
Honestly, I'm just confused by the whole setup now. Like the comeback, the attack. I don't know. I don't know how to feel. Like, I'm just so baffled. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, because I'm right there with you. I told you that if that was indeed not Brock's final match at WrestleMania, then I would have had Brock win. Because if Brock's plan, because you heard it, that he was going to be done at SummerSlam, and so I told you the way I would have booked that would have been, if that was the case, he might have had to, I wouldn't have made Oba look weak, but like maybe a low blow behind the ref, when they're behind the referee's back, Heyman had him distracted or something to get Oba up and do like he did Monday, 2 or 3, 4 F5s, have Oba kick out at like 2, but then the third one he couldn't. But then you have them kind of dancing around each other, Oba wanting his rematch, and Brock's like, I didn't beat you. I have nothing else to prove. And then somehow, some way, they worked it back into where Oba gets his rematch at SummerSlam and does what he did at Mania. If Brock truly was not done at Mania, that's the way I would have booked that. But again, I don't know. I'm so, clueless, I guess, as to how much control Triple H really has. So I don't know. So we're getting tribal combat with Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu. And as much as I was into the Bloodline storyline when they built it up, even though, like I said, it did have a stale moment here and there, but I think over a 3-year run, I thought they did pretty well with it. I just don't care about this. Jacob does not look like a world champion. Kudos to him for when he got out of prison, getting his life together and, finally making it up here. But, they say he's still who he is, and he's not the guy that you want to send on morning shows or, like Seth Rollins going to the, Good Morning Football and Roman going to some of the Good Morning talk shows, that if somebody pisses him off, you're going to see it. He's not the guy to go represent the company out in the mainstream. And I don't see him winning. I mean, he could, if Roman's really wanting to elevate another member of his family, Solo could always get involved. We could finally see the arrival of Zilla Fatu. I don't know. I think they're going to beat the dog shit out of each other. I do think that. I think it'll be a better match than what Solo had with Drew at Mania, because I told you that I actually wanted to see that. I thought it was hard hitting, but it was not what I expected it to be. I think it'll be better than that, but I don't care too much about it.
Yeah, I'd say it's a pass for me. It's one of those I don't know. I'm pass.
Yeah, and then you go
the kitchen.
Yeah, and then you get Gunther versus Cody. It'll be a good wrestling match, but does anybody care about it? And this is what the kind of thing I've been going back and forth with the last few weeks with you on, is that what's missing for me these days is just okay, Gunther runs out and he puts Cody in a chokehold a few weeks back. And when Cody's calling out Randy after Mania, blah, 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 blah. And Heyman, his favor was getting Gunther to move to SmackDown and getting him a world title shot with Cody. There's no emotion there. If Gunther puts him to sleep, I don't see it happening because, Cody is their QB1, as they like to say, their golden boy. Gunther's not going to move merchandise. He's a great heel. I'll give him that. He would have been a great heel back when I was a kid. He would have made a great heel in the 70s and 80s. The foreigner that everybody hates and the big Austrian. I mean, he would have been great back then. Because he's a great mat wrestler.
It would have been like a Kozlov or.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with Gunther. It's just, I know Paul Levesque is really high on him. That's why he's had a title so much of the percentage of his time there. But it's just like I said, this stuff here lately it feels like it's just being thrown together, and that's just not Paul Levesque's writing style. If you've kept up with it since he's been part of creative, but do you care anything about Gunther and Cody? Yeah, me either. So all that being said, who do you think leaves Clash of Italy stronger?
AEW? I don't know. What do you mean out of Cody and
any of them? I mean, any of the few matches that we discussed.
I don't know. Pass.
I mean, if anybody's going to leave any stronger, and I don't know how, if anybody cares about it or not, but if Oba Femi destroys Brock Lesnar again, then, who's to say he didn't come out of that looking stronger than anybody? Gunther's good, but he's not Brock Lesnar. Jacob's good. He's not Brock.
Oba and Brock, instead of like quick matches, can somebody be like, hey, can they go 27 minutes of absolute beat the pot and piss out of each other and put on an absolute banger of a big match? Because, I don't know. You have these two big guys and you're trying to sell that it's this big dramatic wrestling match, but then the match is kind of like a little bit of a wank. You know what I mean? Like a quick, oh, it's done now. Oh, aren't we happy it's done? It's like, yeah, but it could have been so much more. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know, man. I mean, I would be hard pressed to get 17 minutes out of, much less 27. And if you get 17, that's going to be a lot of stalling and rest holds, in my opinion.
I think what I'm trying to say is, they're trying to be a wrestling company. So if they want to tell a story with two people who are what they're saying are like high level wrestlers, put it in a wrestling match. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be 4 minutes. It can be a big match. You can have it, say, 30 minutes. Like we've seen them. I don't care. Modern Brock is not going that long. I know that. But you know what I mean? It would add to the story if the wrestling match was bigger.
Yeah, I mean, Brock had great matches back, earlier in his career with Cena, with Kurt Angle. Hell, even The Rock.
Because then Oba can say, instead of, I beat Brock quickly, he can say, I went to war with Brock Lesnar. I took everything he had. Every single move he hit me with, and I still got up and hit him with another. Like, that's a more interesting story than, like, suplex, finisher, we're out of here. You know what I mean? I don't like. Yeah, I mean, that's just my opinion on it.
It's like when Roman Reigns beat Brock Lesnar to unify the titles, and then they did like 3 matches, and 2 of them, all 3 of them really, but the last one they did was if Brock didn't win, he didn't get into the title shot against Roman, and it was a last man standing match, and they beat the dog shit out of one another, and the finish of the match saw. Brock had come out. That's when the cowboy Brock became a thing because he put his cowboy hat on and got on the damn forklift and lifted the ring up with the forklift. But, the Usos came out and I'm assuming it was Solo. There was 4 of them beating him up, and they just put all these tables and chairs on top of him after the beat down. And he was still trying to get out from underneath it, but he didn't do it in the 10-second runoff. And so, he still looked like a beast because it took 4 of them to keep him down and put stuff on top of him. But again, I'm I'll see where it goes, but I'm not interested in it per se. And here's my what in the actual fuck of the week. WWE has reportedly re-signed Baron Corbin. Yeah, that was my reaction.
Okay, pass.
Since his release, him and Dijak had become the new skyscrapers on the indie scene. They were in MLW and a couple other places. And I saw some clips of them. They were a decent tag team. But I didn't, and it's not, I don't know the guy. I forgot what the hell his real name is. Doesn't matter. But I don't know the person per se. But all his gimmicks that he did from NXT to the main roster to when he shaved his head because of the hairline he had going on with all that hair in the back, to doing the Happy Corbin gimmick and, everything else he was doing. I never liked the guy. I mean, his character, I thought he was boring. I thought he was, a waste of space on TV. Did you ever care too much for Baron Corbin?
No, he always came off as like a Fed pick. You know what I mean? Like somewhere an executive went, that guy, he's tall, he can do the boot, he can do the hair flip. Like it always felt like a corporate pick. And like, okay, I don't want to like bully the guy, but he definitely falls into this group of wrestlers that are basically only wrestlers because the Fed went, we like you. We like you, we like you, we like you. We give you a little bit of a run, we don't like you. And then they go into MLW and you know what I mean? There's like a small little cushion in the American Indies where they can kind of catch themselves, but it's like I don't know. He could have done himself a favor by wrestling on the international circuit with some of the guys that are known to be on the international circuit, but I felt like he was just like, oh, I'm not on TV. Okay.
Yeah, and it's not a knock on the person because I don't know the person. This is the character. I just, I never. He was passable in the ring. I mean, he could go out there and put somebody over and make them look good. I mean, he was a good hand per se. And he could get heat with his promos, but they were kind of boring and whatever.
If he was in a draft pool and you had only so many picks, he would be bumped down instantly by so many other potential picks.
Absolutely.
So and similar picks too, because if I could have him or if I could have Lance Archer, I'd go for Lance Archer first.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Similar kind of builds or whatnot, but he was like, I'm a Fed guy. Oh, I'm not a Fed guy. Okay. There wasn't a like, hey, Juice Robinson, they let him go from NXT. He said, okay, well, I'm going to go to Japan and I'm going to reinvent myself and I'm going to come back. And with Jay White, blah, blah, blah. That story obviously took like 10, 12 years. Anyway, but he just kind of went, yeah, okay. Instead of, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I always kind of viewed that as like, I guess, like, I don't know. I'll phrase it as I don't know how to view that because I've seen a lot of other successful wrestlers be successful in their exit where he just kind of was like, yeah, I'm all right. Content, I guess.
And, I'm not rooting against the guy. I'm just like, what do you do with him? And if he can come back and prove me wrong and actually make something of himself, then, God bless him for it. Good for you.
I will say this. If I wouldn't choose to have him on my production staff, if he was on my production staff, I would be happy. I'll say it this way. From what I've seen him do on TV, he's a guy who will say yes. Period. He's a guy like The Miz. Absolutely. He's a guy like I'm trying to think of a couple other like really good examples of like they've done silly stuff, they've done outrageous stuff, but they just say yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir. Like poor Corbin, rich Corbin, like all that stuff. That's fantastic stuff.
Well, and there's one more right behind it that I'll get your opinion on. Apparently they've either already done it or are in the process of re-signing Enzo Amore. He's been at the Performance Center working out, and he looks like I know I'm older than you, but do you remember those damn trolls you used to put on your pencil and do that with, and their hair would go everywhere? Yeah. Well, that's what he looks like.
Mimi Bobek. Yeah. He looks like a skinny Mimi Bobek. Yeah,
Well,
I think that's definitely, these are two hirings to, on my more jaded side, these are two hirings of, these are two yes men who will do what we tell them to do and like the paycheck we give them. So let's get them in to lower costs and to minimize that doesn't work for me, brothers. You know what I mean? Because if you said, hey, the Miz, you're gonna come out of a box on SummerSlam. He's gonna go, what size is the box, sir? What color is it? I'll match the box. I'll get shoes that look like the box. We'll make it work. I think like the Motor City Machine Guns might have been a, how does that work for me, brother? Kind of thing. You know what I mean? So,
well,
I think some of these might be a bit more corporate minded.
Well, and that could be the case, but also the reports right behind that are, and I didn't think nothing about it, but I don't know if it was on Dynamite or Collision, but Brian Keith came out and wrestled by himself against whoever, it doesn't matter. But there was no mention of Big Bill. There was no Big Bill in sight. And reports have it his contract's up either this month or, pretty quickly in the next month. And they're looking to bring, him back to be, to put Enzo and Cass back together because they have realized how weak their tag team division is. So, I mean, they're entertaining. I'll give them that. Enzo's great on the microphone. And I mean, that's 100% what they're looking for these days. So, I mean, if that's what they want in their locker room, so be it.
How about wild, crazy idea? Hear me out. I say crazy things so you can just write it on the board and erase it later. How about this? Use your own fucking talent that you have and build them. Like, what happened? What's going on? I hate to quote Tucker Carlson, but what's going on right now? What is this? What's like, if you need tag teams, you have NXT, you have this whole roster of people, you have the Lucha Bros that can just go together instantly at any time. Like, you have this completely deep roster of all these people that you have options for.
Well, not to mention who you just
bring
released.
In these people?
No, I agree, but let's talk. Let's talk about
right.
If your tag team division is not where you want it, if it's lacking per se, but you just released the Wyatt Six, you released the Motor City Machine Guns, you released
the Wyatt Six is two different male tag teams, right? Like it's 4 men.
Yeah, and you released Angel and Humberto, who they never got a decent shake there at all. I mean, they were a good tag team too. I enjoyed watching them. Humberto wasn't as entertaining as Angel was, but Angel had enough personality to carry the tag team.
Like, WWE could never have a tag team tournament the way that, like, what am I trying to say? The Super Junior Tag League in New Japan is 16, 2 blocks of 8 tag teams. In theory, you could do that for WWE with the roster numbers. Like, you could definitely go bing, 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 bing. But you could never, they can never pull that off. Even by having small teams and large teams or whatever, you could never have a block of teams that all had storylines. Even if one was, hey, we're patting ourselves on the shoulder because we lose so much, that's still a story. So if the Usos had the main event scene or whatever, you could still have a story of, hey, we're the jobber team and we're trying our best. Like, but they would never have that many teams all with stories. Hey, silly question that just came to the top of my head. We're the War
hurt again, from what I understand.
Oh, okay. That's an answer I'll accept, because if they're hurt, they're hurt. But like, you had the Tongans, you have the War Raiders, you had Machine Guns. Like, there's so many tag teams that you already have or already can put together, and you just like.
Yeah, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. You brought that up. I mean, you want to release Jeff Cobb. I mean, that was your own stupidity for not using him correctly. But you released which I forgot which one was which, but you kept Tama and you released his brother when you've got the Gorillas of Destiny right there. You can use as a tag team.
To defend Jeff Cobb, the way the New Japan style was, that where he was forever, was 98, like 70% of all the matches are multi-man matches. So he has tag experience. He's been tag champion before. This man can work tag. Like, put him with Jonah. Oh, we have 2 monster heels. Who's like? There's so many Bronson Reed. There's so many like little things that you could put together to say, hey, now we have a tag division. But also, silly question, why now? Like, what made them go, no, now we're thinking about our tag division? Like, was it just like Triple H waking up like cold sweat, like tag? I gotta tag someone. Like,
I don't think it was. Well, see, that's the thing. I don't think it was him. I really don't. You know, I don't know who's talking about this stuff and everything else, but like I said, I don't think it was him. So let me see something here while you're.
I was gonna say it's not that's probably not a TKO decision. No, that's too insider wrestling. Only like wrestling fans know and love kind of tag wrestling. I think casual TV wrestling fans, they, you know what I mean? It doesn't. What's the story? Go, you know what I mean? Like intricacies of a tag or a singles. I don't think casuals really care for the difference of. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, being you brought up Bronson Reed, you know. I'll give you a clip that I made a little while back, you know. Bronson Reed being embraced by the one and only Mark Madden.
Call it Mark! Oh, fly! Fat ass fly! Oh, he killed him!
Killed him! 1, 2. Was that too loud for you? Yeah, I'm interested to see Bronson Reed come back and what they do with him. But you know, you talking about Angel and Humberto. We'll go a different way here a little bit. You got the Saturday night pay-per-view coming up in Mexico for AAA this week, and one of the matches on the card, to me, is probably the most damn interesting thing WWE has going on, other than Danhausen, is El Grande versus El Grande, mask versus mask. And now I'm really curious how it's going to end, and I'll tell you why. If you have not seen it, Ludwig Kaiser was actually arrested for a battery. And he is so over as El Grande in Mexico. It was just like, okay, they're going to take the mask off Gable finally, and, you know, just get him back to being Chad Gable and, you know, whatever they called that team with the Creed brothers. But now that Kaiser's been arrested, is it like it was back in the day? Is he going to be in the doghouse and made to lose and keep the mask on El Grande on Gable? Or are they still going to, let him win? Because that seemed like where they were going with it. Because, you know, he really did. I mean, he didn't do a better job with it in the States, but Kaiser definitely went over there once they bought AAA and Kaiser went over there. He got that gimmick over, man. And
I think it depends on, I don't know, like, this might be a weird answer, but I guess it depends on the climate, because I remember celebrities back in the day, if like a guy who played for the NHL did something like this, you might get fired. You might get blackballed from the sport, depending on the story. I don't know. I haven't all I've seen is the article come up. So I don't know what he's done. I don't like specifically any of that, whatever. So depending, I guess, on the severity of the crime, in theory, a company like TKO may have to go. Okay. The wrestling and fan in me is kind of like, this is pretty on par for Mexican wrestling. You know what I mean? Like this is something within the mythos of Lucha Libre, but they are an American company, and they are, you know what I mean? They do have to kind of fall by that. So who knows? Like, depending, hopefully it's not bad, let's say, for the entertainment side of it. But yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't know the severity of it. So let's say.
All right. Well, I will tell you what I found. This is from the New York Post. Ludwig Kaiser allegedly did not mind his manners. The WWE star, who currently performs as luchador character El Grande Americano, allegedly assaulted a man in Florida in April. So last month, after the man told him to have some manners upon leaving an elevator after the wrestler and a woman were uncontrollably intimate in the individual's presence in the elevator, according to the arrest warrant. Kaiser, real name Marcel Barthel, was arrested Wednesday and charged with misdemeanor battery and has since been released from jail on bond.
And depending on they play it, it could be, like, could they look? We all know justice can be weird. So if they play it the wrong way, he could get like indecent exposure or whatever it's called. Hey, you guys were doing tomfoolery.
No, apparently he smacked.
Like,
Yeah, apparently he smacked the guy because the guy told him to mind his manners. But whatever. All right, let's get through the end of this here because we got Double or Nothing coming up Sunday, and we talked a little bit about it last week, and I was kind of watching what's going on. Darby defended against Sammy Guevara Saturday night on Collision, and then he took on, who did he take on last night? Mike Bailey. But on Saturday, with the whole pillar versus pillar match, because we hadn't seen Sammy on TV in forever. I know he's been doing the Ring of Honor thing, but he had Sammy. I didn't see the match; I saw clips, but he had Sammy and the Scorpion, but then just kind of fell over and passed out, like from the all the the week in and week out that he's been doing to himself. So that tells me, and that MJF will walk out of Double or Nothing as a 3-time champion with his hair intact. I do think it's going to be because of Adam Page. We will get the return of Hangman Adam Page, I believe, that will, look like he's about to clock MJF and then do something to Darby, and MJF will get the title. Your thoughts on that one?
I can definitely appreciate the small little story that they're telling, but V6 in like a month and a half. How long has he had the title? And he's had 5 or 6 successful defenses. Like
he has wrestled. He has wrestled for the title every week since the. I forgot who he wrestled at the pay-per-view.
Let's put it realistically. If you were V6, if you had 6 successful title defenses, I would assume you're a year and a half into your run. You know what I mean? Because you've definitely spread this out. You know what I mean? You like to continuously like keep 6 times. Like how many big shows? So the fact that he's crammed this in so little is like a what do they call it? It's not a marathon, it's a sprint. Or They say vice versa. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Darby went, bloody fuck show you guys. Ran full speed the entire time.
I was a big fan of the world television title when I was a kid. It got defended on TV every week. It was a 10-minute time limit. And if the match got a 20-minute or 15-minute time limit, the belt was only on the line for the first 10. And of course, that was the way they'd set up a pay-per-view match. The champion would get pinned, like 12 and a half minutes, but the title didn't change hands. And to me, as much as I loved what they did there, he's de-elevating that title by putting it in my eyes, he's taking the world title down to a television title. And I get the TV landscape is different. I do. I think that's going to be the story they tell with him and how he, I think Paige will help him, help him lose. But that in the exhaustion, if let's just say Paige doesn't show back up, the exhaustion finally catches up with him. But there's a couple of things I do miss, like the whole thing that they had to do to get MJF a rematch. I missed the rematch clause that champions used to have where they got a rematch if they lost the title. And I missed the champion must defend his title every 30 days, or you get stripped. Like they were able to tell stories with that. Like when Terry Funk beat up Ric Flair after he beat up Ricky Steamboat, and they come out and said Flair was not going to be able to defend the title, and they would normally strip him of that title. But it was a judge that they put at ringside. It was on the company, so they was going to give Flair additional time to heal and get ready for his match. It's stories you can tell that way that that keep you from having to fudge your way into certain things, in my opinion.
It's what I would call like preventing child logic. When you say like, okay, so a kid explains the rules to a game and then they go, okay, but for a sport to be a real sport, you have to have kind of rules in line that people can't do that. So if wrestling is going to be a sport, you have to at least acknowledge it. Like, okay, here's a good example. Every single match in New Japan, they say a time limit. That's just normal. They never let's say 99% of the time, they never mess with the time limit rule. They just say the time limit. I feel like in certain American shows, if you say the time limit, people are going to go, oh, they said the time limit. It's now going to be, you know what I mean? Like little things just add to make it more sporting. So like,
well, that's one thing I'll say for AEW. I don't know, I mean, I can't go back and guarantee for the 6 years of their existence, but as much as I can remember, when the announcer starts the announce and the following match is scheduled for one fall with a 15-minute time limit, whatever they say, that they have done that. And I told you, I was in attendance for that first MJF Adam Cole match when it went to time limit, and nobody knew because they didn't do a countdown, just the bell rang and everybody's like, what the hell just happened? And they learned from that because like the last couple of times they've done a time limit draw, they've done a countdown and this, that, and the other. And, so the people in the audience were aware of what's going on. Another match that I'm looking forward to, actually, believe it or not, they had on Dynamite last night a Continental Championship Eliminator match with Jon Moxley and Kyle O'Reilly. Now, O'Reilly didn't have to beat Jon Moxley to get a title shot. All he had to do was, stay the time limit. And if anybody remembers the story.
Oh, the old Rocky 1 story.
Well, not that. It's just the last two times.
Win, I just have to not lose.
Yeah. Well, the thing with that is the last two times they had wrestled before Kyle got hurt, O'Reilly tapped him out. And they're, like, whoa, what are they trying to do with Kyle here? Well, they went back and forth last night, and he got Moxley in that ankle lock again, and finally went down. Where he wasn't standing up anymore, and Moxley's selling like crazy, biting his hand and holding his hand and this, that, and the other. And it went to a time limit draw. And then Kyle got on the, somebody said, he heard one of the announcers say that Kyle survived, and he got on the mic. He said, I didn't survive. You survived, so now I get my title shot that, I've beaten you twice. And this time at the pay-per-view, it's going to be no time limit. So I think we'll finally see Jon Moxley get his win back. But every time they step in the ring, and everybody knows I'm not a big Jon Moxley fan. I'm not. I wasn't a big Dean Ambrose fan, so it's not because he's in AEW. But every time these two guys get in the ring, they have good chemistry. They have a good match. Kyle O'Reilly, despite his lack of charisma, is a great in-ring performer. He's a great striker. Moxley's got his good points. Not really my cup of tea, but I mean, to both guys' credit, every time they step in the ring, they have a good match. So that'll be a hard-hitting match. But I'm gonna tell you, well, you got Cage and Edge and Christian, Cage and Cope against FTR in an I Quit match. I think, if Cage and Cope lose, that too. They can no longer be. They can never ever team again. But I think this is when they finally actually win the tag team titles. But the story that I'm really digging right now, and I've told you before, is Will Ospreay. Him coming back. I kind of question why they put him with Moxley so quick. And then the whole way the Death Riders kind of turned around, told him to watch the tape. They could have ended him right then, but they didn't, and then come out and helping him. And now he's, not a Death Rider, but training with them. And, he's in the cup, the Owen tournament. The first round match will be against Joe at the pay-per-view. Of course, the winner gets a shot at the world title. This is what I think you're getting. I think you're going to see MJF win the title. He's going to keep it a couple of months, however far out that pay-per-view in London is. And you're going to see Ospreay finally become AEW World Champion in London. And I think it's a great story. I think they've done, Will was, when he got on the mic last night talking to Joe, like, everybody says, I look bad that I've lost weight. He said, yeah, I lost weight. Yeah, I've lost mass. I just had neck surgery, you dumbasses. And but I mean, he's telling a story. It's got enough realism in there. And I mean, really, I've thoroughly enjoyed the whole, for as much as I questioned them putting him in the ring with Moxley at the beginning, like coming back that quick and then losing. I was like, what the hell did they just do? But I've really enjoyed what they've done with Ospreay. So, have you been paying attention to that at all or no?
I've been paying attention to the other end of it. So the AEW stuff is kind of throwing me off because he's the, I'm a face in a heel faction and I don't want to be heel. And I'm frustrated that everybody else is healing out. So when I watch the other show, he's like slowly becoming heel, but on the show that I watch, he's a staunch babyface. So
No,
I don't know.
I don't
I don't
think
know if it's crossed wires or something.
Well, I mean, I would tell you to watch some more of it because to me, he is not coming across as a heel at all. When he's training with the Death Riders, when they show the stuff in the back, like them training sessions, he's listening to Moxley and he's nodding his head, but he's not, he's saying, he will never be one of them. And Joe's a full-fledged heel.
Yeah, but I don't know. So the old saying thing where they say show don't tell.
Yeah.
The old movie thing. Okay, so as someone who's clicking the channel, you're showing me with them, but he's saying I'll never be with you. So in my head, I'm thinking, well, he's lying to himself. That's the story. So I don't know. I think I'm getting my wires crossed when I'm watching it because I'm just a little like, sorry, what's going on? And is he coming back for Dominion? Because he's got the trios titles with Okan and Hinare. So is he going to be back in June? What's going on? I think I just have my wires crossed because it's like when you read Punisher, like two different comic books. I only read this one. So when you read this one, you're like, sorry, what's going on with Frank Castle? What's this? He's a Marine? What?
And we're finally going to get, I think we'll get, two feud payoffs that we've been waiting a while for. And of course, the first one we talked about, FTR against Edge and Christian. But the second one, and I think in my opinion, will be the absolute match of the night when Takeshita faces Okada for the international title. Don Callis Interfamily Turmoil.
Could go either way. I feel like.
I agree with you there, but I think Takeshita needs to win. He needs this win.
I think this could be okay. I'll try to use an analogy. Let's say there's this punk band, and way back in the day, they used to be this really, really hardcore punk band. They used to do this specific style of punk, really, really hard. But then they became like pop punk, and they were on the radio, and they did music videos, and they got this big crowd from being pop punk. So now they're going to have a concert, and now they have a chance that they could go out and play their old stuff, but their old stuff might freak people out. Because if Okada and Takeshita go out and do a 35-minute Japanese-style match, I don't think that necessarily will land well with the AEW crowd, depending on the city, of course.
And why do you say that?
Because it's a specific... Okay, it's the same reason that Bryan Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. needed to have their match in Japan or in London. Like, there's a specific style. Look, there's a reason all the AEW fans don't watch New Japan. You know what I mean? And when you ask people, hey, why don't you? They'll come up with a stylistic reason. So now you're bringing that Japanese style to the main platform of American wrestling. They can play their American hits. You know what I mean? Like, as a pop punk band, they can play the safe hits and they can do a very safe American match. But if they play their old stuff, will people go, ooh, I don't know? Because, hey, wrestlers have been known that you can get away with certain things in different cities, but you can't in other ones.
Well, I think both of them are good enough. And God help me what I'm about to say. Don Callis, like him or not, he's got a good enough mind, and you got a few other people back there that can, like I said, I think both of them are good enough, but they've been over here long enough to where I think they can put a match together to where they can mix in some of their older stuff without doing the entire match. It's gotta be
like a Rolling Stones concert where it's like a little bit of half and half. Like, yeah, I think they just have to ride the line. Like, they have to be careful. I think potentially they could go too far in one direction. I think they're smart enough to not to, but there's a part of me that's like, yes, go too far. Well, yes, go to the dark side.
However it turns out, whether they go that way, they do half and half. I think it's going to steal the show. I really do. And
it's probably going to be the best match of the show.
Yeah, and 100%. And like I said, I think Takeshita he needs this win. Okada does not. I think Takeshita needs to overcome all the all the crap that Okada's been giving him for the past year, if not longer, in AEW as part of the Don Callis family. And so, like I said, I just think he needs it. So, but I think that'll be the match of the night. And I believe that, like I said, I believe MJF walks out and as a 3-time champion. And I think he goes on to face Ospreay and lose in London. I don't think that Max is going, would agree to something like that. Now, would people love to see Max get his head shaved? Absolutely they would. But, with him spending all that money he spends overseas on that hair and this, that, and the other, and his movie roles, and he's not the leading man in anything, but he's got some stuff coming up. So I can't see him getting his head shaved unless I think somebody would have to pay him 7 figures for a movie role for him to shave his head, but nor here nor there. But like I said, I think that'll be the match tonight. And I think we're getting a new world champion. I think we're getting Ospreay going over Joe. And I think we'll have new tag team champions as well. What's the women's? Women's is a fatal 4-way match. Tekla, Chris Statlander, Hikaru Shida, and there's somebody else. It's four women's champions. Now, quick question, then we'll move on to pro wrestling history. You said you did or did not see Dynamite last night?
No Dynamite though.
Okay. Well, one of the segments saw Willow Nightingale relinquish the TBS championship and remove herself from the Owen tournament due to a shoulder injury. Now she was faced in the tournament to face Alex Windsor. Well, what does that open up? That gives us a wild card spot. And look at all these women that WWE has released over the past year, from a Dakota Kai to I don't know what Kairi Sane's contract situation is, but there's Britt Baker is still hanging out doing whatever, people waiting on her to come back. Who do you think might get thrown in that wild card spot to take Willow's spot?
Honestly,
I mean, it might even be Mercedes. Choices. We haven't seen Mercedes in a while.
And then she's coming back with no titles, so that's immediately a story. Can she, I've got 0, I've got to try to get 1, but there's tons of people that they can bring up at any time in theory, because Athena's still doing her run. I don't know if she's in the tournament.
She is not in the tournament.
We could always bring in Yuka Sakazaki again, or what was the girl that they pushed a lot? Riho. There's tons. There's too many for me to be super duper excited, because it's like picking a movie on Netflix. There's 800 choices. It's not like there's 4. Oh, who could it be? It's it could be anybody.
It could, but on a pay-per-view, you would think they would want something that would get a little bit of buzz, not just a popcorn fart because somebody came out and was like, yeah. I mean, hell, I don't know how long Tony's going to be out. It could be a returning Tony Storm for all that matter. I know she's been gone for a little bit now. So, but yeah, we get a wild card in the Owen Hart Cup. Today in pro wrestling history, 26 years ago today, the American Badass version of The Undertaker made its debut at the Judgment Day pay-per-view. What did you think about the Badass when it first came out?
I'm gonna say, as a teenager, it was fucking awesome, man. But now, as a grown-up, it's let's just say my views on The Undertaker have changed drastically. So I will say that the American Badass version, I don't have such highlights of. I don't have such nice things to say. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I was always a fan of the old school Undertaker a lot more than this one, but for the Attitude Era and what they did, I thought it was necessary to give the character a new whatever and allow Mark Calloway, the person, to talk and let people see a different side of him. And then, when they brought the old school Dead Man back against Kane at WrestleMania, the pop that he got was, it was a combination of the two characters. He kept his kind of MMA style with the gloves that he had went to, but of course with the old school Undertaker stuff setting up and everything. It was an evil necessity. I thought, I guess is the best way to put it. And the way they did it at first, by him rolling out on the motorcycle with the trench coat and the sunglasses, I thought it was a good way to transition. Keeping enough of the old one there to bring in the new for a little while.
I will say, him at that time having Rollin' as his theme song was probably the highest wrestling has or specifically WWE had a cultural cohesion You know what I mean? Because that was a cool ass song, hip during that time. So it wasn't like now in WWE, they use a lot of like really, really pop songs where it's like radio songs. This was like a radio song that was cool in that sense. You know what I mean? So it had a little bit of cultural cohesion. So people would go, hey, I know that song. I mean, oh, this is awesome. This guy's kicking this guy's ass. Oh. So it's like I can accept that was a good period for the WWE, but I can still look back and go, yeah, I'll pass. I'm a tough biker.
If you remember correctly, though, that song didn't last real long. They went from that right into American Badass when Kid Rock released that album, and he still comes out that too. That's what you hear a lot. Some if he's doing anything, they'll hit the gong, and then if he comes out on the motorcycle, you're getting American Badass. Anyway, 5 years ago today, Army of the Dead starring Batista was released. Elton Prince, the one that we have not seen on TV in forever and a day of Pretty Deadly. He's 29 today. Happy birthday, Mr. Prince. 41 years ago. Today, an amazing card celebrating 60 years of Owen's family promotion. It was held at the Memorial Coliseum in Portland, Oregon. Saw Rick Martel defend the AWA title. Ric Flair defend the NWA title. Also on the card was Roddy Piper. He was in the midst of his heel run in the WWF, and he came back to the Pacific Northwest to face Buddy Rose. And you had Sergeant Slaughter versus Kendo Nagasaki on that card. 9 years ago at Backlash, Jinder Mahal defeated Randy Orton to become the new WWE champion. Dear God, I didn't remember that. Didn't need to remember that, I should say. 20 years ago today at Judgment Day, Booker T defeated Bobby Lashley to become King Booker. I thought he did real well with that. Kota Ibushi is 44 today. Happy birthday to Kota Ibushi. 44 years ago today. Huh?
He put out a video recently about how he's so weird. He goes, okay, I'm coming back to work. I'm injured, so I'm going to buy a venue. So I need money to buy a venue. So I need work. So hire me, Kota Ibushi, so I can buy a venue. And everyone went, what? Huh? Just say you need work. Why the roundabout? You know what I mean? But that's very, very Kota. That's very his character.
44 years ago today, Wahoo McDaniel defeated Sergeant Slaughter to win the United States title right here in Richmond, Virginia at the Richmond Coliseum. And it's very sad that the Coliseum has been setting for the past few years. They're in the midst of trying to take some kind of deal to tear it down and build stuff. And ever since then, like Greensboro Coliseum has been around longer than most of them, but they've renovated it and done some, upgrades to it and this, that, and the other. And they could have done the same thing because the Richmond Coliseum seats 15,000 people. But, since it's been gone, we don't have anywhere for wrestling matches and stuff of that nature. We got to go down to Norfolk or we got to go to DC. I can only, because between the two of them, when WCW was still kicking, between the two of them, they were here, 6 to 8 times a year. And, I can only imagine how many times AEW would have done rolled through in the past 6 years as well. But, if you never saw Wahoo wrestle, Wahoo was old school, man. He would, you watch his matches, he would beat the shit out of you. Mr. T, I pity the fool, 74 years old today. 31 years ago tonight, WCW presented Slamboree, a Legends reunion live from St. Petersburg, Florida. Main event saw the Mega Powers team up to defeat Ric Flair and Van Vader. The match turned personal when Flair attacked Angelo Paffa, who had accompanied them to ringside.
Good team.
Warren Bockwinkel was born on this day in 1911. I didn't know Warren Bockwinkel was the father of Nick. I didn't know if that was a work or a shoot, but that was a shoot. Well, okay, let's see. Sean Mooney of WWF fame back in the day. He is 67. Happy birthday, Mr. Mooney. 26 years ago today, Triple H defeated The Rock 6-5 in a 1-hour Iron Man match to win the WWF Championship at Judgment Day in Louisville, Kentucky. Oh, God, 25 years ago. It's been that long. Wow. Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit defeated the two-man power trip, Stone Cold Steve Austin and Triple H, to win the titles in San Jose, California. The big news of the night, though, was Triple H tore his quad. I cannot believe that's been 25 years ago. Wow. How time flies, sir. 31 years ago, yeah, we did that one. I don't know why they keep repeating this shit on here. Yeah, So that is today in pro wrestling history. Anything stick out to you there, sir?
No, not necessarily on this go around.
Yeah, like I said, to me, there's not a whole lot that's been going on this week. I mean, like I said, it's just I think if the WWE keeps going the way they're going, and I don't even look at them as WWE anymore. And say, and I know people are like, "What do you mean?" Well, they're not. To me, they're not a wrestling company anymore. I mean, yes, I understand what people will say about Vince McMahon and what he did by bringing entertainers in, but it was still a wrestling company. Whether he wanted to call it that or not, it was still a wrestling company. And
it's the semantics can come in where he hated the name pro wrestling. The second he started calling it sports entertainment, I would say is where, the split happened, because then it became very different. Instead of what we were doing was better because we're bigger, it was no, what we're doing is better because we're,
I saw an interview.
That's the spark.
I don't know how long ago it's been. It's been like the last 5 to 10 years. And with Vince McMahon, and he was asked about that. He was like, your business is pro wrestling. You call it sports entertainment. You will not allow wrestling to be said. You want your performers called sports entertainers. Why do you hate the term wrestling when it's been so good to your family? And he piped up. He said, I don't hate it at all. He goes, what people fail to understand is I want these guys and girls to be able to go out and do other things. He goes, when they're called a pro wrestler, he goes, it's kind of like the cruiserweights. They got this stigmatism hanging over their head. He goes, but if I call them entertainers, then maybe people will look at them differently. He goes, I don't hate the word at all.
Okay, but to give a completely different perspective on it, Tenryu, a famous wrestler from Japan in the 90s, was doing voice acting because he was so renowned in the country. Like Finn Balor was an Armani model in Japan. So why is it when it's through the lens of a different culture, they're totally respected as entertainers, as models, whatever, that's allowed. But for some reason, Vince doesn't even view wrestling. You know what I mean? Vince has himself a defeating attitude about wrestling. So no wonder, you know what I mean? He tried to shy away from it as much as possible. It's like, you can't be a pro wrestling company and hate pro wrestling. It's like, what's those, like, I don't know all the religious things, but it's like a self-hating blank Catholic, Jewish person, whatever. You know what I mean? I know there's an expression of self-hating, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, guy, you are a pro wrestling company.
No,
like,
I agree. But you brought up those two, but I mean, look how big Conan was in Mexico before he came over here with that long flowing hair before he shaved his head bald. He was like a wrestling god. Yeah, well, not just wrestling. I mean, they had him on soap operas. He was everywhere. I mean, but Hogan became a pop culture icon. To
use a more a closer geographic example, Terry Funk was on Baywatch. Terry Funk was in Roadhouse. Terry Funk's a pro wrestler. Yeah. Everybody loves Terry Funk, but he's like, okay, he didn't do too good, but Terry Funk's also, he's got some ups and some downs. Let's say if we're moving,
Terry Funk Hollywood. Was perfect for the roles they put him in, though.
Yes, but when you have someone like Chris Masters, you can't put him in a movie. You can't put Swerve Strickland in a movie. Like, we have a little bit, let's say, a bit more handsome of wrestlers nowadays. So
that's my thing.
Terry Funk can do it. Sami Zayn can do it. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I do. But my thing is like what I was going with Hogan. Yeah, Hogan became a pop culture icon, but no matter how big, and like Steve Austin, for as huge as he got in the 90s, and I know he did Grown Ups 2 with Adam Sandler, and there was a couple other things small things he did. None of them go back as far as you want. And yet a lot of them got, attention and this, that, and the other. They were never revered in the States the way they were in other places. I mean, you in Canada, I think you'll get this, there for a long time. I don't know how it is now, but the Harts were revered in Canada, and they were put up on this pedestal. And, when Hogan was at his height, it was like, hey, do you watch pro wrestling? No, but that's the thing Hulk Hogan does, right? That's where they got here. They never got that kind of status that, you know, the people we've talked about did. And, you know, with, you know, Conan per se, I'm not real sure why he ever came here to begin with. I mean, I'm sure it was money, but, you know, I mean, he went from that flowing hair and all that stuff, commercials and everything else to, you know, to being bald.
I will say this, for the amount of people that think that WWE is the like end game, there's a certain amount of other people in the rest of the world that view the world market as the end game. Like, if you want to be the best of the best of the best, you look, what's the expression? I don't know why the NBA calls themselves a world championships if they're only from the American teams. It's that sort of analogy. I know that's its whole argument, but I get the argument of that analogy where it's like, look, Conan wants to say he's the greatest there's ever been. You've got to go to other markets. And that's a big thing in New Japan where they say, look, if you want to be a good wrestler, you can't just be a good wrestler in New Japan for their excursion. Go to AAA, go to Britain, go to Germany, go to Mexico, learn their system, come back. Now you know 2 systems. Now, you know, like, so I could see the argument of Conan being like, well, if I want to be wrestling's god, I have to. Hey, even JBL went to Japan. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I
some
do.
people have that mentality of they want to branch out.
Yeah, and like I said, I know pro wrestling has been big here for a long time. I mean, you know, it was a tradition in households for decades, you know, of grandparents that got taken to the matches by their parents, taking their grandkids and kids to them. But again, it's like nobody's ever been revered here the way they're looked at in different parts of the world. So, you know, I don't know whether you whether you agree or disagree with Vince McMahon. You know, there's a lot of things I disagree with Vince McMahon on, but
I would disagree with that one thing. Yeah.
But I mean, no, if I'm watching a pro wrestling show, no, I want to hear them called wrestlers. That's, you know, I'm right there with you as far as that goes. So, well, you got any predictions for the upcoming weekend with Double or Nothing? You didn't have I think you said you thought Takeshita would come out on top, didn't you?
Honestly, I haven't kept up with that story in like the last couple of weeks, so it's hard to kind of know.
You hadn't in the last couple of weeks. You hadn't missed anything.
Takeshita could use the win, but at the same time, like, these are S-class wrestlers wrestling at the top of the world and the top of the card. So in a sense, it doesn't matter who wins because they're not. Takeshita's not going to go S+ by winning, and Okada's not going to go S+. The only logic I have is Takeshita is the young star. He's the growing talent. Let's give him these big match wins. Okada can kind of walk him through these big Okada matches. It's like with what was the other one with MJF and someone else where it's like they need experience with these big matches. These the big, I don't know what the word I'm trying to use is, but you can definitely tell when it's like pay-per-view time. These guys have to go. You have to go 35 minutes for this match because it's the big match. So not everybody can do that. If this is them kind of getting some reps in for Takeshita, that's perfect because Okada is the guy to kind of, okay, at the 27-minute mark, we're going to be here. At the 35-minute mark, we're going to be here.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, I would be interested to see if this whole feud or, you know, a lot of the input was Okada's just to try, because you know, Takeshita's the up and coming star and Okada's the established, you know, 10-star match with Kenny Omega guy. I'd be interested if this was, you know, Okada's way of going, let's get him, let's elevate him this way. So
let's remember those matches that Okada, like, they made Okada, that was later into his career. And that was also 10 years ago. So this Okada is the, like, hey, I've only got 6 at a good level left. So, you know what I mean? Like, get it while it's good, because he's going to be a Hiroshi Tenzin soon, and he's retiring soon. And it's one of those, like, how are you going to walk to the ring to retire? It's going to be one of those. So hopefully, you know, get it while it's good with Okada, and then hopefully he can start rounding down his career a little bit.
Well, yep, I agree with you. And, you know, follow us on social media. We're everywhere at Ringside Syndicate. You know, hopefully Paul will start posting some of his, at least workout clips that he can, you know, he can edit, you know, of doing
I gotta
5,000
breathe through
Hindu
both
squats.
nostrils first. Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you've been paying attention to some of it, but I've been trying to find at least some kind of little small clip to post each day to, you know, whether it's new, whether it's old, whatever we're getting. And, you know, follow us there. You know, we appreciate you watching. And Paul, you got anything before we head out of here?
Trying to keep up with the tournament day to day is exhausting. It's been like a week and it's already 4 events in, and I'm already like, oh, I've watched 37 singles matches in the last week. It's driving me up the wall. But yeah, no, Best of Super Juniors has been fantastic this year. So I'm fully committed on this tournament so far.
And we do have our next episode of Road Trip Wrestling to air soon. We took a trip to MLW down in we were in Florida, weren't we, Paul?
Yeah, Florida again. I don't know what it is with that state, but it's got half the American wrestling companies.
Well, I was going to say if you go back in the day, it's that's you know, they all lived in Florida for the most part. So, you know, when's that episode going to drop? You haven't got any idea?
I don't know. We got to record it first. I'm supposed to hear back from a buddy for this weekend, but yeah, I got to get over this sickness first because trying to get some energy in me is definitely not the easiest thing.
Well, we do appreciate you suffering through it with us tonight. It's always good to get it out, you know, and maybe sweat it out a little bit. But on that note, we got a Double or Nothing this Sunday. We've got Clash in Italy next Saturday, and I'm more excited for Double or Nothing. I'm more excited for Ospreay. More excited to see Takeshita and Okada than I have anything the WWF's got to offer, except the hottest thing they have going right now, which is Danhausen, the #1 merch seller in the WWE right now. But for Paul, I'm Jason. Real talk, real passion, real wrestling. This is the Hard Cam, and we'll see you next time.